Welcome back. So today we're going to be tying a Munroe killer. It's a little salmon pattern, and hook I have in the vise is full and mill double Magni black size 10, and the thread I'm going to be using to start off with is uni thread in white. I'm going to just move this light a second. That's better, not really set up properly to start with. So catch on just behind the eye. We'll take our thread down to about 3-4 mil before the splay and the hook starts. Just trim off our waist. Now for the tag, I'm going to be using some gold uni oval, small. Just take off. That'll also do for my rib too. And I'll catch it in. Probably about 3 or 4 mil from where the hook starts to splay, and then I'll take touch and turns down towards the splay of the hook, and just when it starts to splay I'll come down under and up between the hooks. You can go under or over, it doesn't really make much difference, but I think sometimes if you go under, it just helps your tail sit a wee bit better. So I'll trim that off, and then I'll just take my thread up to tidy everything up, and then just once I've got the remainder of the silver or the gold tag covered, come back down again. It just helps build your body up a little bit for the tail to sit. Now for the tail, I have a dyed orange cock hackle pulled out here, so I'm just going to strip off some of the fibres. I like to go for the finer ones towards the point rather than the soft webby. I think sometimes them webby fibres, they can splay out when you tie them in, whereas these ones just seem to lie straighter. So length of the tail, probably much the same length of the body, so we'll just use that measure up. Set it over the top, couple of loose turns, just check that it's sitting okay, and then we can tighten down in. So one of the reasons I like to build the body up just with a few turns of thread is it helps the tail sit. If there's too big of a jump, your tail will sit up quite high. For me, I don't like them really sitting dead straight, but I like a little bit of an angle in it. So we'll just trim off our waist here and tidy this all up. There we go. Just at this point I'm going to whip finish off, because I want to add a fluorescent green butt to this fly. That's kind of the reason I start off with a white thread in below. So we'll trim that off, and then I've got a bobbin holder here with some Glo Brite number 12. It's a nice fluorescent green. So we'll catch it on, just a couple of turns to hold everything. Trim off my waist, and then just form my butt. Just peel that back, it was just a loose fibre. So a few turns on that, just kind of made my tail drop a little bit, but it's not too bad. And then some open turns, just bringing your floss out of the way, whip finish off. Now just for a bit of added security, I'm going to add a drop or two of varnish just to that butt. Just helps strengthen it. So nice and careful, try not to get any of it under your tail. Now that'll soak in pretty quick, should dry just even few seconds. So we'll give that a couple of seconds just to soak in, and then what we'll do is I'll just touch it with my finger and thumb, take any of the excess off. There's plenty soaked down into it, so that should just help strengthen that butt up a bit. And now I'm going to come in with some black Guinea 80, and again touch and turns, just aiming to cover up all of that fluorescent green. If there's a bit shows through, it's no big dramas. We'll be coming back up with our rib and our floss. So just aim to cover as much of it as you can. Like I say, don't worry too much if you miss a bit. Trim off our waist, and then our rib, just the same length of uni that we used for our tag. Just make sure when you cut off for your tag, cut plenty, and the same length will do for your rib. Now for our body, we're going to be using some black uni stretch floss. So we'll trim off some of that and just catch in there. So we'll bring our thread up, just aiming to cover everything, tidy it all up, and just get all the loose ends tied down. That's quite good there. Now our floss, we counterwind the opposite way to our thread, overlapping or close touch and turns, just making sure there's none of the green showing through, but it should be fairly well covered now with a couple of layers of thread. And then 3 or 4 turns over your thread, or over your floss, sorry, a couple in front of it. And trim off. Right, so at this point now we take our rib. So I like pretty much one full turn right round the back of the body, and then open turns, wrapping the rib the same direction as your thread, and then when you tighten it down in, you're pulling your rib tight as well. So a couple of turns, a few around the front. I'm just going to turn that a bit so as I can get in nice and close. There we go, trim that off nice and close. You just want to lay a base of thread there, just to help any more materials we're adding bite down onto it. So for the hackle, I have an orange hen hackle here. So just the same as all the rest of my videos, just peel off the fluff at the back just to open up or expose the stalk, catch it in with the hackle pliers, and then just try and open up the tip a wee bit just to get tied in. So holding your fibres back, finger and thumb, come in, trim the tip off, and a few turns of thread just to secure it in place. There's a wee fibre there sticking forward. I might be able to get it now. Yeah. So you can either tie this in wound the way I'm doing and try and pull some of the fibres down, or you can tie it in just false, where you strip off a few fibres and tie it in underneath. They both give sort of different appearances to the fly. I think for the smaller flies, definitely tying it in false is better. It helps keep the bulk down. So just a couple of turns of your hackle, secure that down in. And you can see that's quite messy at the front with fibres sticking forward, so we'll just take a few seconds and try and get that tidied up a bit. So just tease them back, give it a wrap of thread, a little bit more. Sometimes this can take a little bit of time, but if you do it now, it'll save doing it at the end of the fly whenever you've more materials added. So I'm quite happy with that there. Maybe just take a few more turns of thread just to make sure I've got plenty of room to finish off the fly at the head. Now I'm also going to tie in just a few fibres of blue, dyed blue Guinea fowl. I'll tie them in false. So just peel off, pull out and line up a few fibres, peel them off, and then what I like to do is just rotate my vise. Hopefully this still stays, that's not too bad, it stays in the camera. And for me, I like them, well, either the same length or slightly longer than the orange Hackle fibres. So pinch and loop there just to keep everything in place, and then with your finger and thumb just if the fibres need rearranged. That's not too bad. And then trim off her waist. There we go. And then we can tidy that up, a few more wraps of thread. This all sort of helps build the head up a bit for keeping the wing lying flat-ish. So for my wing, I have some dyed yellow squirrel tail. I'm just going to pull off. I like the flies reasonably sparse. Obviously the less you're tying in, the easier it is. This material can be a little bit slippy, so sometimes if you tie too much in, once you've whip finished, you notice one or two fibres come out, and as soon as you take one or two out, there's another two, and then three or four, and before you know it, the whole wing has just slipped out. So just what they like, they're lined up not too bad. I'll just trim them off. Just pull out any loose or broken short fibres. So you can put these through the hair stacker if you want. It just depends on how you prefer your wing. I'll just have a look at that. And maybe we'll just put them in the stacker if I can. There we go. So just drop them down in. A few taps with a hair stacker. And that just lines them up quite well. So what I like to do is measure my wing, go roughly to the tip of the tail, maybe a little bit shorter, that's not too bad there. So change fingers or change hands and trim off at a slight taper. Obviously if you can trim it off now and get it tied in well, it saves having to try and trim all the fibres down with the head and then tidy everything up at the end. So that's not too bad there. And then we'll just take a bit of time and build up our head, covering up all those little fibres sticking out the front. Just build up our head, that's it, making sure everything's nice and tight, tied well down in. And then we can come in and whip finish. I'm just hoping that there's no yellow squirrel tail showing just on the camera side. I can't really see it too well in the screen. So we'll finish that off. Trim off our thread. So there we have a Munroe killer. There's also a few variations of that. I'd be a big fan of a gold bodied Munroe, or you could also tie the dark Munroe, which is a little bit of the yellow, dyed yellow squirrel underneath, and then finished off with some black squirrel over the top. It's another nice looking pattern, or something else I like to do quite often is I would tie it on a gold hook rather than the black. I just sort of opted for the black hook today. I thought maybe it would show up a little bit better in the camera. So we'll just move that into the centre of the vise a bit, or centre of the screen. So there we go, there's the Munroe colour. Hope you enjoyed that wee video. Thanks for watching. I appreciate the time you spend watching the videos. Also everybody that subscribed, thanks a lot. So hopefully see you again soon.